Hey there, Dan Martell here, serial entrepreneur, investor, and creator of SaaS Academy. In this episode, I want to share with you what is churn, simplified and explained, and how to reduce it. Probably the most important thing, because I think if you want to grow a software business, it's really important to understand how to measure it, how to structure it, and more importantly, how to capture the cancellation. And be sure to stay to the end, where I'm actually going to share with you my exact 6 screens. Literally, I'm going to give you the mock-ups of the 6 screens that I use when any customer goes to cancel their subscription on my SaaS business. But let's get into it. So a long time ago, I was having a board meeting, and it was one of the first few board meetings we had for my company, Flowtown, which was a venture-backed social marketing platform that my co-founder Ethan and I had built. And one of our investors asked us, "What's your churn looking like?" And we kind of thought we knew how to measure it, so we just kind of said, it's about 14% right now, but it's getting better and we feel good. And he was like, "Wow, is that per month?" And I was like, "Yeah." At first I was like, that sounds pretty good, because you hear these numbers and you're like, okay, well, we're retaining customers, they're paying us every month. And what I discovered through that conversation, because obviously he's a very seasoned investor, and what I've just, now that I've coached hundreds of SaaS founders try to improve their churn to increase their monthly recurring revenue, I've realized that there's so many different dimensions. If you've ever felt confused about understanding how to measure churn, understand the difference between logo churn, net revenue retention, gross retention, like all these different aspects of the equation, I'm gonna simplify it today so that you can get your head wrapped around it, realize that there's only 2 different kind of dimensions to look at it, and with that, you'll be able to understand how to predict it and how to reduce it in your SaaS business. So number 1, calculate churn, or sometimes called logo churn. So we're gonna simplify it. There's revenue churn, so how much money we lose every month from customers that cancel, and we also have just like logos or accounts. So if you have individuals as a consumer type SaaS, or a pro or business SaaS, that's like the account level churn. So right now we're just gonna keep it simple. The way to measure this is at the beginning of the quarter or week, because you can measure churn on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, is you wanna look at the total number of customers. So at the beginning of the month, if you had 100 customers, and at the end of the month, you now have 90 customers from that same cohort, not any new ones you've added, just that same group of people, you have 10% monthly churn. Simple and easy. So you can do this on a quarterly basis, etc. But for right now, just go calculate your last month's churn and maybe the last previous 12 months, okay? Your trailing 12 churn on a logo basis, but that's how we calculate. The beginning, same group of people, how many are sticking around at the end of that period, divided by across that period, and that is the number. Number 2, net negative churn. Now this term sounds so weird, because net negative churn sounds like a bad thing. Churn's bad, negative's bad, but it's actually a positive thing if the number is positive, right? So what net negative churn is more like revenue retention. You might hear people say net revenue retention. To me, it's the same thing. If I have a group of 100 customers at the beginning of the year, and they spent $100,000, and that same group of people end up at the end of the year having spent $130,000, then I have a 30% net revenue retention, or 130% net revenue retention, meaning that it went up. Okay? And the way that goes up is by expansion revenue, cross-sells, upsells, add-ons. So, and this is the thing about SaaS that a lot of early first-time SaaS founders don't understand, is that your business is predicated on your ability to move customers through your plans, expand their usage through some kind of value metric, or use an add-on to sell them to increase what's called the average revenue per user or per account, ARPA or ARPU. But that is what net negative churn means, is do you have a scenario where the longer customers stay with you, their spend is more than the amount of money you've lost through cancellations or downgrades? Number 3, acceptable churn by market. Now, if I didn't lose you on the second bullet, I apologize. There is some math involved here, but the big idea is you have logo churn, you have revenue churn. Now I'm going to talk about logo churn, your accounts. What is the norm? People always say, well, what should I be aiming for? What's the point of diminishing returns in regards to, like, if my churn is X per month and I serve this type of market, is that okay? So I want to break it down for you. First is SMB. On average, because you got to think about small, medium businesses, they're going out of business every year. So you can't, there's certain forces against cancellations that you'll never be able to overcome because it's just in the same vein of business failure rate. So 3 to 7% on a monthly basis for a logo is where you want to be. Now, previous point that I meant, the net negative retention or net revenue retention, that same, even though you're losing those logos, if you have a product that has really well-designed pricing and expansion revenue, like a value metric and add-ons, you'll be able to overcome that cancellation force by expansion revenue. So that's why you have these SMB SaaS companies that are very profitable, that continue to grow, even though they're losing 3 to 7% of their customers every month, because the way they monetize that base of customers allows them to grow the revenue base. So that's the SMB space. Mid-market, you're looking at about 1 to 2% on a monthly basis. That's good. And then on the enterprise level, 0.5% or 1%. And it's very normal and not uncommon to have enterprise customers with like no churn on an annual basis because they're selling these big integrated platforms that are incredibly hard to rip out for a business. So the stickier it is, the lower your churn's gonna be. And on a monthly basis, when you get to that level, like focus right now to get there, but once you're there, you also wanna start looking at ways to monetize better because that's really gonna help you increase your average revenue per account. So mid-market, enterprise, and SMB, that's the way you want to look at it. You might serve all three, so make sure you segment out your customers and churn by segment so that you know what they are individually on a monthly logo and just multiply by 12 to get your annual numbers. Number 4, churn prediction. So how do you know ahead of time before the customer actually cancels that they're gonna not renew? Great question. So the way we do that is a customer success strategy called the Customer Engagement Score, the CES. Now, I teach a framework called the Member at Risk Monitor, which is essentially the same concept. But if you think about it, if you look at your users and you look at what happened prior to them canceling, you'll probably see certain activities that were true. Maybe they stopped logging in so often. Maybe they had a change. This is a big one. I had a customer that I coach. They noticed that when the person who was the account owner changed jobs, there was like a 70% chance that they weren't going to renew on their next renewal cycle. Duh, because the person that made the decision to buy that software had moved on. So they built in a monitoring tool that actually told them if the account owner changed, reach out to the company, find out who took over the role, build a relationship, and not only retain that account, this is the kicker, they would actually go and reach out to the person on LinkedIn that changed to the new job to see if they could sell their software into that new customer. That's the level of thinking that you need to have to make sure that you can start to reduce and really predict your churn. So Customer Engagement Score, I have another video that's all about the different tools that you should be using to measure this. You can do it yourself very simply. I mean, honestly, if it's logins, if it's usage, whatever data tells you if they're red, green, or yellow, that'll help. So the way I stack it though, I wanna give you this, is red's bad, yellow's trending bad, green is good, but then the top level is purple. So you have these 4 colors, and purple means referenceable, meaning if you want to refer customers for testimonials or prospects to talk to customers, et cetera, that's purple. And what you do is you create a playbook, a customer success playbook, a documented strategy to say, if somebody ends up in red, here's what we do and we execute. We call them, we set up a scheduled kickoff. We do whatever we need to do to engage them to get them to yellow. If they're yellow, we do this, we try to get them to green. If they're green, we try to get them to purple. So we ask for if they're willing to do a testimonial, be interviewed on our podcast, et cetera, et cetera. But that is at a high level how we not only predict it, but we overcome it. Number 5, limit churn. So how do you limit your churn? Well, the reality is people might be canceling your software, not because they don't have the need and they don't think you can solve it. Maybe they're just frustrated. Maybe they had a bad customer support experience. Maybe they feel like there's a feature that's critical for their business that you don't serve or you don't offer, but you actually have it. They're just not aware of it. So there's 6 dimensions of doing this. And the big idea is I want you to capture the cancellation, okay? I want you to monitor using the different traffic light systems, red, green, yellow, purple. But I also want you, if somebody actually goes to cancel, I want you to capture their reason and figure out if there's a way to save them. Sometimes people cancel or really just want to pause their account because there's a downturn in the market. But I want you to capture that feedback and feed it back to your product team, because all those reasons are probably product opportunities to improve the gaps in your roadmap so that you can retain more customers. Pretty much, I would say, 20% of your engineering time should be fixing bugs and fortifying the platform. 60% should be built on reducing churn and adding features that are missing to keep the customers you have. And the other 20% should be on innovation and new kind of product strategy so that you don't get left behind by your competitors. So quick review of the hot principles of churn and how to make it predictive. Number one, we need to calculate our churn. Number two, we need to ensure we're heading towards net negative churn. Number three, benchmark our churn by acceptable churn by markets, the percentages there on a monthly basis. Number four, churn prediction using software or coding it ourselves. And number five, limit churn by capturing the cancellation. As I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, I want to share with you an exclusive resource. It is called the Cancellation Capture System. It's the exact framework, wireframes that I use in all of my software companies. All my coaching clients implement it to not only save the cancellation, but more importantly, learn from the customer that's leaving as to where the gaps are in our product to be able to not only save them, but potentially reduce the amount of future cancellations from our current customers. So make sure that you download that. Just click the link below, download your copy with the wireframe so you can implement that. Just give it to your product team and they'll write up the code. And be sure, if you like this video, to smash that like button, subscribe to my channel. And if there's anybody that you care about that you think this could serve, feel free to share it with them. And as per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business, and I'll see you next Monday. Ready to rock.